Good afternoon, everyone. Let me get our co-host on here.
Hello, hello.
What is going on, Nick?
Oh, not much. Just playing catch up.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. By the way, I got to get a new webcam because yours is totally putting mine to shame.
This is the MacBook Pro I picked up this January, and it's I like it.
So that's the MacBook Pro, huh? Well, that's interesting. I have a MacBook Pro, but I'm not using that one. I'm using the an old one on a display.
I got this, so this would be, I don't know, I guess a 2015 model MacBook Pro.
Huh.
I got it in January, so I'm assuming they didn't have a new model out yet.
Yeah.
So you probably, how old's yours?
A few years actually.
Okay, but I imagine that. I don't know. Give it a shot. See how the quality is.
Definitely. I think I might have to try that. I think the other thing is I have to figure out how to raise it up a little bit more.
Yeah, well, that's the one thing I don't like. The camera, when I used to join you and Vincent, I used the camera from the desktop. But ever since I had that issue with the audio one day when I was filling in for Vincent, never been the same. I can't figure out the audio on my desktop. So, and that's I can't say that I've spent a lot of time doing that.
You what?
And I can't say that I've spent a lot of time trying to figure it out.
Yeah, but it's fascinating though. That at least that you're experiencing that you're you haven't been able to get that to work.
Yeah, really strange. So ready when you are, my friend.
Okay, let's get going with this. And you and I've talked. I mean, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about today, don't we?
Yes, there's quite a bit going on.
Okay, so let me get your notes up real quick, so I have the topics we were going to talk about because it's a lot.
I should try and bring them up on my MacBook as well, so that I can link them in here.
And here's the thing. So while I'm over here, I'm over here working on getting this pulled up. I just want to welcome everybody to this week's episode of Social Chatter. I'm your host, Christian Karasevich. My Twitter handle is @CKROKS. That's my personal handle. You can also find me at Social Chefs. So that's my company. And then Nick, which you're what, experts.com?
At experts.com VP.
I think I got that right, didn't I? Yeah.
You got it.
And if anybody has any questions on anything, if you're watching this, for instance, on the live stream, put them in the chat. We'll answer the questions. And if you are watching the YouTube replay, if you're on the blog, you can put that on the website in the comments. If you're on YouTube, you can put it over in the comments there as well, and do our best to get to your questions and answer them. So let me get back to your chat. Okay, so here we go. I got your list pulled up. So here's what I want to do. I want to actually reverse your list.
Okay.
Unless you want to talk about the most important one first. What do you think?
Either or. I mean, I think there's a couple. You and I may have a disagreement over which is the most important one. Not a bad disagreement, but just one of those. I kind of thought that the Twitter revenue sharing was pretty big.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's do that one. Let's do the Facebook one, but we'll do those kind of like.
We'll do those last.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go through the first few we've got. So let's start with the Snapchat geo filters.
This is pretty cool.
You go ahead. Yeah. What do we got going on?
So Snapchat's offering on-demand geo filters to let anybody custom build their own filter for their own event. If it's a birthday or a wedding or something to that effect, any sort of celebration, you can build a geo filter without having to know any of the graphics software. You don't need to know how to do Photoshop or Illustrator or any other software. This is on their on-demand website, and you can purchase it I think they start as low as $5. So I don't think it's gonna be as fancy as if you hire out an independent contractor to build one for you. But for probably 85% or 90% of the users out there who may want one for a special occasion, I think this will be a pretty handy thing.
Absolutely. So let's talk about this from a business standpoint. Like, should I pay somebody to create my filters?
Depending on what the event is that you're going to.
Okay.
We talked about doing one for experts.com when we were going to an event, a legal tech event, and I ran it by some young attorneys. Hey, what do you think about me getting one of these Snapchat geofilters done for the company before we attend this event? And they said, you know what, I'll be surprised if any attorneys there are actually using Snapchat, even at the younger age. The very few will be actually using it at the occasion, so I don't think you're going to get as much bang for your buck. So I think it depends. That's, an anecdote, just a personal or professional anecdote, saying that it depends. What is your business? What's the event? And what's your audience like? Because not a lot of people are going to be using it and getting snaps with your logo or your filter in it, then maybe it's not worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to say that I think if I'm a business and I'm like, I don't have my Snapchat strategy down, I'm not really using Snapchat as much, or, I'm really not sure if it's even right for me. I would say, and you probably hear me say this a lot, I think that you need to at least try it out, spend some time. And I'll give you an example. I haven't used Vine, for instance, in a while. And I got the idea last night. I was like, hey, I want to actually put together this, short little thing, but I really don't want to spend time editing a video. I want to do something quick. And I hopped on Vine. I recorded, I used two quick tools. I put together just a quick video over on twitter.com/socialchefs. And it's actually tied to one of these topics. Actually, that's why.
Okay.
I put together a quick short little video, nothing major. And I said, this is actually good that I know how to, at least knew how to do this, because it didn't have much value before, but now it does. So I think it's the same thing with the Snapchat geofilters. One question I guess I have about this: do you think that things are getting too simple for people? Because, how you previously, for instance, if you wanted to edit video, you had to either have a background in video, have really good equipment, buy the software. Nowadays, people are buying, a couple $1 apps, and they're able to edit, put together a really slick looking video. Now, it's not as,
it's not professionally done.
Right. It still looks great, but it does look a little like a cookie cutter type template.
Right.
Do you kind of feel that that's going to happen with the geofilters as well?
I think probably, but I think, again, I say for 95% of users, I don't remember what percentage I used, but let's say, I think I said 85 to 90% of the users who, if I was getting married and I thought it'd be kind of cool for us to have a Snapchat filter, then I don't necessarily have to have the professional one done, and it can be simplified. Maybe for businesses, you want to consider still using somebody who can do a better looking, fancier graphic for you. So yeah, I do think things are getting pretty simple, but for the majority of people, majority of users, I think that's probably going to be okay.
And I would say this, if, by the way, let's talk about the background noise here, getting a lot of feedback on some things. But I would say this, if you're concerned, if you're a business and you're concerned about something being too simple, I wouldn't worry about that. Honestly, I would say, hey, you know what? Let me start with this. Let me get it going. And then once I get it going and I have, at this point, I can hire somebody to do my graphic design work, do it. It's a natural progression. Every single person pretty much started that way, unless you were a graphic designer.
Right.
So I think it's, this is a very good tool.
Started out like you said, and I basically would repeat it, try it out, see if it works for you, see if there's any value in it for you. I polled a few people and they said, look, I don't think you're going to get much value out of that. So try it out and see.
And here's the thing. And this is the crazy thing about social. Everybody thinks there's this magic. They sort of think there's the magic wand that you can wave, for instance, and make everything all of a sudden just work, or or that you can really just there's not really a blueprint, but you have to get in there and try and get your hands dirty.
That's right. There are some things that are blueprint-like that you can really apply across the board, but as the news today will show, it is changing so rapidly. that you're really going to have to try much of it for yourself, and don't feel like you have to try everything right away.
No, that's actually key. I mean, do not feel like you have to do this all at one point, because everybody, they are feeling extremely overwhelmed, I'm sure, and uncomfortable. And it's not bad to be uncomfortable, but it's getting to the point now, I think, where like you and I looked at this list. I mean, seriously, everybody watching, we have 10 items this week that are all good pieces of social media news. But just, like anything, like pick, for instance, if you want to try Snapchat geo filters, make a task list and like, what's one thing I want to try like one day of the week? Oh, I'm going to try Snapchat geo filters. Try it out, see how it works. And then, the next day, try another piece, or, a couple days later. Don't drive yourself nuts trying to keep up with some of this stuff.
Social media marketers, and I think, and I put myself in there as basically a part-time social media marketer. I think you're more full-time at it. Even those of us who are constantly in this, I mean, keeping up is just really not doable these days. You have to pick and choose your battles and find what works best for you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So keeping with the Snapchat theme, I'm going to go into topic 2 here, actually. So topic number 1, we talked about the Snapchat on-demand geo filters. They're easier to create now. What about this whole Snapchat? What do we got here? Snapchat behavioral targeting.
This was interesting. So I guess they were able to do real general targeting, or currently are able to do very general age, gender, and location, essentially. Mm-hmm. And now they're going for certain behaviors, which I don't know. I don't know what to think about it. I think they've got to do it. I'm sure that's what advertisers are asking for, essentially more behavioral and more targeted advertising. So I think that's what they're going for. And let me see if I can find what their behavioral, what they're trying to do with the behaviors here. I'm not sure I understood it according to this article. Did you catch what behaviors they're trying to attack?
Well, so I would say also, the other thing also that's kind of important to mention, the image that's in here is a Facebook image. So if anybody was reading the article that you and I were talking about with this, there was a Facebook image now in there. So overall, let me see something. So,
because there is a Facebook image in it, and what I got out of the article more than anything was, this is what they said. This is essentially targeting behaviors is trying to do more targeted social advertising. And many are finding that targeted social advertising, which that's the key of social advertising for a long time. You got to target the right market. And many are finding that they're now, maybe targeted isn't as important as blanketing. And the example they said is Procter & Gamble's chief marketing officer said we targeted too much and we went too narrow. And he was talking about in his Facebook ads, they're scaling back their targeted marketing in Facebook ads. For instance, a campaign that targeted air freshener ads to pet owners in large families didn't address stagnating sales, but a broad campaign targeting users over the age of 18 did. So that was sort of the devil's advocate in that article, is that, that's nice that they're going to offer this behavioral targeting, although it didn't tell me exactly what they were going to offer as far as behaviors, but that this more narrow targeting companies may be backing off of that a little bit, is the argument I was reading.
So I would look at it like this, and I tend to agree with that. So if it's so fascinating. Like if I'm a small business, for instance, and I'm trying to get it's so fascinating because everybody, like as a small business, everybody's telling, the small business, hey, you should be, really hyper targeting, basically, getting very focused on that. But then on the flip side, you have Procter & Gamble saying, hey, like we're kind of scaling that back. It didn't really work for us.
Right.
It's fascinating in the sense that people are, like for small business, I mean, you kind of need to like be very specific, but when you get into like, consumer goods and whatnot, I think that it's a whole different ballgame.
I think the difference there is somebody who's got a national or an international presence versus somebody who's got a local presence, where in a local presence, you're probably when I say targeted marketing, for a local business, I mean targeted based on locale, essentially, and maybe nearby locales. Whereas maybe that's less important for somebody like Procter and Gamble, who makes sales throughout the U.S. and probably throughout North America, and even probably beyond that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so I would say this. I mean, again, it's if I'm a business, I want to experiment with this whole, with this whole behavioral like targeting. I think that you have to kind of look at what type of business you are. If you're just getting onto Snapchat, for instance, you have to have really good content. I guess we also have to look at it like this, Nick. If somebody's going to blanket target basically and not get into this whole, very, very narrow focus, they have to have really strong message. They have to have a channel that people want to actually go to and check out all the time. You can do that shotgun approach and you're going to get in front of people. And if your content is good enough, people are going to come back to you. You're a magnet. Mm-hmm. But if your content is weak, you don't post very often, you're going to probably want to go for a more segmented target here. And so I think with Snapchat's behavioral targeting, part of it is I think they're having to kind of keep up with Facebook on this. Mm-hmm. I guess on the flip side of this, I mean, if I'm looking at Facebook, people typically are using Facebook and they're doing retargeting. So what they might be doing is they might be sending somebody to a website, first of all, to get them interested. And then they're doing their more narrow focus.
Right.
So they're basically, driving that person down the funnel. But Snapchat, I guess, is a little different in that you need to be able to get in front of a different type of audience, not just the whole blanket approach, but you don't really have that landing page or the retargeting option.
Right. That's right.
I'm not going anywhere.
Right. You got to catch them at that point. So it almost becomes captive audience for those seconds. And are they going to tap off of this ad immediately?
Yeah, for sure.
Really have to grab their attention.
So that's topic 2 for today, by the way. Let me get our other ones up. Let's see. So let's stick with we're talking about ads and sales and all that sort of stuff. So let's talk about, and we're going to combine this. So we're going to talk about Twitter sharing video revenue, and we're also going to talk about some live streaming.
Yeah. Yeah. Go into Twitter and then to Facebook, the Facebook Messenger. Do you want to do that? Twitter.
Let's do that one. Yeah, let's do that.
So Twitter has announced that they will, and their stock price, I will mention, also bounced upwards today, which it's been struggling for a long time. They announced that they will now share video revenue with individual content creators. They're trying something new to boost their stagnating user base and boost revenues. And they said creators who publish videos on Twitter will get about 70% of the ad revenue, according to a source close to the situation, which is better than YouTube's current YouTube and Facebook's current revenue share with creators, which is closer to 50-50. Mm-hmm. There was also a story similar to this, and I don't know how they will exactly do that, but it sounds like they're going to have pre-roll ads before somebody goes live or something to that effect. So before somebody goes live on their Periscope stream, there will be a pre-roll ad, and if you've got enough people, you've got enough eyeballs, then evidently you'll be sharing in some of that revenue from the ad pre-roll.
And I would say this, I mean, with this whole video revenue piece, I mean, it's still going to come back to the same exact thing we're talking about earlier, which is if you have a channel that people go to a lot, you're going to generate some revenue off of it. But if you don't have the built-in audience, you're going to get peanuts basically, based, regardless of this.
Right.
So I guess the other question is, do you think that this is actually going to change people's perception of Twitter? They're going to actually jump back in?
I think they have a better chance of bringing people in from Periscope than they do from just bringing them into the Twitter platform. Mm-hmm. I don't know what will change. I think from what I've been reading, and I will mention that I'm a small shareholder of Twitter, very small.
Yeah.
But so I watch it kind of closely because it is a product that I believe in.
Mm-hmm. And why do you believe, for instance, why do you believe in Twitter? Like, what do you think is, like, what is it that you like about it?
The amount of information that's available on there with it is staggering.
Mm-hmm.
It is Twitter, and one of my friends, Aaron Adele, mentions that you got to look at Twitter as 50% social media and 50% search engine. If you know how to use Twitter effectively, there's an immense amount of information available there for business, for data mining, for a variety of different things. But I've been able to make better connections through Twitter and through live video than on any other platform. And it's interesting how much you can accomplish with only 140 characters. And then if you add a GIF in there too to show a little more personality, it's quite amazing. And when I talk about that, I mean that I've made relationships both for the business and for myself, mostly through Twitter. So I find it to be, it is something I believe in. I do think that 313 million users, monthly active users, is a big number. And I think that they do need to revamp something. They need to make a big change in order for them to go forward. I don't know that this will be any sort of a game changer for Twitter, but I think it's another move in the right direction. I think what will change the game is some sort of a buyout, or the way LinkedIn got picked up by Microsoft. If Apple or Google or somebody wanted to get a hold of Twitter's user base, then I think there will be even more value there for them.
Definitely. And, I want to kind of comment, because you talked about the share price jumping a little bit today. I actually think that spiked also because there was a statement that came out that said they're open to being bought out.
Yeah, yesterday. That was the statement yesterday. Yeah.
So I follow it just like you. I mean, I follow it, from an investor standpoint, but also from a from a social standpoint.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. I don't really know what's going to change, like, because everybody has perception. Like, I was at a training last week, giving a training, and it's the same kind of thing. Like, a lot of people were down on Twitter, for instance. They're like, I don't get it, or they don't really see the value. And then it also is one of those things where, like, then when people can see their numbers, people see those numbers and they're like, they're not that good. And,
it's about building a relationship, not about building the numbers.
Do what?
About building the relationship, not about building the numbers.
And it's actually really funny. So I was a guest on Aaron Kilby's media chat last week, and I happened to be doing this the day before I was talking about analytics on Twitter. And, we got talking about it, and so I participated in the media chat, 45 minutes to an hour of my time. No big deal. It was a lot of fun. We were talking Facebook Live video. And the next day I saw my impressions, my engagement, everything just completely spiked.
Mm-hmm.
And, and that was all about just spending that 30, 45 minutes of time, not just like scheduling updates, but I could have spent 45 minutes doing that. Yeah. And gotten more out of that than just let me put more content out into Twitter.
Yes. Yep.
And, and so I have to say, I mean, kind of the same thing with this whole, Twitter sharing video revenue. I think that's a good, I love all the things they're doing. They're coming out with Twitter Engage, Twitter Dashboard, this whole video thing, more updates to Periscope. I love all the stuff they're doing. Maybe they are starting to turn that ship. I think they maybe need more of us, like, to, I guess, be more vocal about, how valuable this is.
Yeah, they need to turn the ship around. There's no doubt about it. I hope this does it. I don't know that it will, but I've found incredible value there for the company and personally, as far as, and you're right, and people don't use Twitter chats the way they should. But the other thing that they don't do, that people don't realize, is there is no better real-time interactive social media network out there right now, short of live streaming or live video. There's nothing like it. When you're watching the football game, you're watching the Super Bowl, and you're hashtagging right along with it, and you're Monday morning quarterbacking right along with it, or watching the VMAs. Nothing compares to Twitter as far as real-time interaction with an audience.
Right. I mean, yes, you do have Facebook's live broadcast, or the ability to do like two people to broadcast, but I mean, a lot of people have not tapped into that because it's not available to them. It won't come out for another,
Right.
Maybe the next 30 days, I think they're going to start to roll it out. But I'm not really sure what Twitter has to do here to really get things turned around because.
And they're making money too, which is funny because when they're making money and then they get downgraded.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have to say though, I do like the fact that they are starting to look at, letting people monetize. And this actually might even be a big tie into, kind of going into the next topic you had here, which was, so we talked about Twitter sharing video revenue for individual content creators. That's awesome. Create good content. Basically, if you're a business and you want to tap into this, create good content, build an engaged following. Don't worry about just building your numbers. Like if you have 100 people, like you could have 100, like focus on just getting a majority of these people to be engaged with you.
Yes.
And you're going to get more bang for your buck out of not just like putting on updates, but spending time engaging with those people on the channel. Right. So kind of shifting to your next thing, which is Twitter adding new ways to monetize live video. I think these are actually different topics, right?
Yes, they're somewhat different. Yeah, I think we sort of covered that just now. Were you say that again? Just wondering, Twitter interface works.
So Twitter's actually looking to monetize live video via Periscope. So it's.
I think it's the same one.
It's interesting because this actually article literally just came out like 2 hours ago.
Okay.
In addition to the other stuff we knew about yesterday, which was, we knew about the Twitter sharing video revenue content. But this is basically, let's see. So they're going to let approved creators and brands earn or share ad revenue on their media posts, including live content produced via Periscope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that that's much different, is it? Is it just somebody else reporting on it?
Yeah, I think it might. Well, it might just been another report on it. Let me actually do a comparison here real quick.
I was interested in having you talk about, because I didn't get a chance to review it, the new controls.
Those, yes. Okay.
Did you read the article on that? Or
give me one second. Let me look at the Periscope one real quick.
Yeah. And I'm actually looking for the controls as you're reading that.
So, I mean, it's actually, I guess on one hand, this article talked about like that 70-30 split, but then the other one actually talked about, they're looking to basically like bring on approved content. So, when you combine it together, you got to be an approved content creator. You as an approved content creator or a brand can get a share of their revenue on your media post. And then they're also looking to let you basically, I guess I would look at it like this. If I was going to monetize Periscope, I would say it's basically me creating a show. So for example, it could be our social chatter show, and it could get monetized that way. That's where I think there's a lot of value out of this.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's get the other one, the Twitter controls one, huh?
Yeah, I would be interested to hear about that, because Evan was asking in the sidebar here. He said, just wondering if Twitter interface works like the app on desktop or not. And I think they're fairly similar as far as what you can use on the app versus the desktop. I think the interface has enough similarities. It's not like learning something new when you open the desktop. And I was mentioning that I keep Twitter open on desktop throughout the day, all day, every day. And in fact, most days I also keep TweetDeck open as well now.
Yeah.
TweetDeck is a
Twitter client.
It's
owned by Twitter, but yeah.
It's owned by Twitter, yeah. But that's where you can really use it as more of a search engine and really expand your engagement with others through that app.
So Twitter has this new feature. So if anybody's got any questions, Evan, if you've got other questions, just let us know. So I'm going to flip over to this Twitter controls feature. So this is available within the Twitter app. And this is one of the challenges with obviously using a third-party app versus using like the native app. So if I were using the Twitter app, this new feature basically will let you do two things. One is there's a notifications filter, so you can get only notified when people you want to see. Do what?
I think it's just people that you want to see notifications from.
Right. There's two things. So there's one that's only people you follow. So basically, it limits your engagement notifications to only those from people you follow.
Okay.
Which is pretty good because it's almost like somebody has to work their way into your circle if you really look at it.
Right.
For you to like say, like, because everybody right now, what's the one thing they do on Twitter? They go on Twitter and they follow everybody. They don't set up lists. They don't do anything else. They just follow all these people. And what do you end up? You end up with this big mess of a Twitter stream. And what ends up happening? You get notified about everything. Somebody tags you, for instance, because you got mentioned. Somebody likes your content. Somebody retweets you. Somebody replies to you. You get, some of those things are good. Obviously, those are good things. But at the same time, there's a lot of bots out there. And so you end up with a whole bunch of, like, too many notifications that are useless.
Right.
And so as a result, you want to be segmenting your Twitter account. And so with this new control situation they have, you basically go into your Twitter account. You go into so it's like on the app, you go to notifications, you go to the settings menu, and then there's a notification section where you can say, hey, I only want to see notifications from certain people. Like, for instance, I only want to see Nick's tweet, or not individuals, but like just people that I follow.
Yeah.
And that way, actually, I think that's good because it makes people have to be more selective about who they follow.
Right.
A lot of people do that whole thing of like they follow everybody that follows them, and it's like, no, you don't want to do that. You want to be, you want to pick and choose who you follow, because if you follow everyone, you're gonna, like I said, you're gonna end up with just a hodgepodge of information to kind of have to sift through.
Yeah. And I've taken, even more recently, I've taken to muting even people who are following me, but who I've never really engaged in. And I followed them back from early on. And it's like, all right, well, they've never done anything that would make me unfollow them, but I've taken to muting a lot of those because I don't want to see it in my feed.
Now, in addition to this, only show notifications from people you follow, there is a quality filter you can turn on. Now, the quality filter is on the same screen in the notifications section of your Twitter account. Now, this is essentially an algorithm. So basically, they're giving you basically just turn it on. That's all you do. You don't set anything else. And then they're basically using it. It will basically, supposedly, it will improve the quality of the tweets you see by using, obviously, different signals, which I'm sure that's the same kinds of signals you normally see, which are, hey, somebody's liking if somebody likes this a lot, we want to put them in the quality filter.
Yeah.
Somebody retweets it very often. Oh, we want to put that in the quality filter as well, that kind of stuff. So when you turn on filters lower quality content like duplicate tweets or even content that appears to be like automated, that's actually pretty fascinating.
Yeah, and this sounds to me like if you turn on the quality filter, if you want Twitter to act more like Facebook. As far as if you've liked it, you're going to see more of this. That's what it feels like to me. I'm not sure that I'll use the quality filter. I may test it out, but I want to see the stuff in the fire hose. I want to see it come at me that way, and then decide who to mute, who to block, who to unfollow. I feel like I may test out the quality filter, but I also feel like that will limit my ability to discover new items.
And I actually have to say, so it's very fascinating. So I like what you said about like using the whole filter feature. Now, so you want to, because you want to be able to see that, right? And
yes,
so because you want to be able to drink from the fire hose. I feel that if you turn this on, I feel you actually really limit it. But I think at the same time, the other thing that's kind of going on, I guess to me this is more of a concern, is that, and we talk about this all the time, everybody is on too many social networks.
Yeah.
They don't have the time to manage all of these networks.
Correct.
And I think that is actually a bigger concern because, like you said a minute ago, you set up your Twitter account, you probably followed a whole bunch of people, and now you're like, hey, I don't want to see these people, or I don't want to see that person.
Engaged with them.
But you never go back and clean it up.
Right.
And that's where I think, it almost is like a social responsibility of the individual to have to go back and like manage their account effectively or more efficiently. Sorry.
And we have done that in great, using other apps like Crowdfire app to unfollow a bunch of unnecessaries or people who they followed us, we followed them back, and then they unfollowed us because they were specifically looking for the follow back. So we've cleaned up a lot of that, but there's some others that it's like, all right, well, I have met that person and I don't want to unfollow them because it's more of a societal, I don't want to unfollow them because I met them and they seem nice, but I do want to mute them because we're not really engaging.
Right. Absolutely. It's either that or it might be like work related or something to that effect.
Right.
Like you might follow somebody because, hey, you worked with them.
We've worked with them before, but I don't necessarily, maybe their content is not applicable to me. So you mute it or you quiet it down. So the quality filter may be beneficial in that way, but it does feel a lot more like a way to get Twitter to act more like Facebook.
Now, so on the other side of things, like for instance, I use like a lot of the same tools you're talking about. So the other thing, like I said a minute ago, that was for me really fascinating about the Twitter controls feature is that it tries to filter out accounts that appear to be automated,
which is a big thing for us social media folks.
That's actually really big. So there's there are plugins, for instance, that will retweet they'll tweet out all of your articles that you have on your blog.
Right.
You can say, hey, tweet this article out, or tweet all my articles except for these every 8 to 10 hours or something like that.
Right.
So there's that piece. Now on the other side, there are other tools such as there's Buffer, which nothing wrong with taking your content and putting it back in the in the machine basically. Using Buffer or Hootsuite. I don't see anything wrong with that because you kind of have to manually do it.
Right.
There's some other tools that I know of that basically do all of it for you. So I'm very intrigued to see how this adjustment is going to affect some of these tools because there are a lot of tools out
interesting.
there.
How's this going to affect Buffer or Hootsuite as companies when those are scheduling in essentially automated? Even though you have to set yours up manually, it's then automated from the third party.
Right. I mean, for instance, like Hootsuite, I could go in and I can put a CSV file together of all my tweets for like the month, put them into my queue, and then they're scheduled out. Right. And I don't have to really touch that. I just do it once. It's like touch once. So I find that fascinating. Now, there are other tools besides the two that we mentioned. There are actually some other ones that they really they kind of take it to a different level. So, like for instance, I don't know if you ever checked out I think it's Meet Edgar.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, that one. So that one, for instance, is that one is basically it's a scheduling queue. But it basically tries to automate everything. So it's like you put everything in there, and then you put a posting schedule, and it's supposed to pick and choose all your stuff. So my take is, because I've used it a little bit, it takes the work out of having to go reschedule content.
Right.
But at the same time, it's going to make more work. I think if the Twitter controls are on, it's not going to help you. It's actually going to hurt you.
Right.
Because I think your content will end up falling into an area where people aren't going to, they're not going to see your content anymore.
Yeah. That'll make people get really creative.
Yeah.
Anyway, should we move on to the big dog?
Yes, let's move on to the big ones. Yes. And yes. So thanks for keeping us moving here. Okay. So
no, I noticed you did it with me earlier, and I thought I better think that way some more because we are running out of time here.
Okay. So what's the last, is this the last topic, I think?
Yep.
Right? Okay.
The last topic is tools.
Okay. So the last topic for today, and then we obviously have some tools. I'm sorry for my numbering. It's really way off. So Facebook launched Facebook Instant Video. And this is available in Messenger. You do have to update.
Not to be confused with Facebook Live. Not to be confused with Facebook.
Don't confuse it with Facebook Live Video. Don't confuse it with Facebook Instant Articles, which are a completely separate thing.
Right.
Facebook Instant Video. Okay, so the news basically on Facebook Instant Video. This is a feature for you if you're using Messenger. For instance, if Nick and I were on Messenger talking, instead of just doing because you can have audio conversations. For instance, Nick sent me an audio conversation saying, hey, he was sick the last couple of days. Wasn't sure if he was going to be able to be on the show today. He sent me an audio message. Now, if he wanted to, if he had this yesterday, he could have sent me a video basically and had a real-time streamed video over Messenger.
Right. So think of FaceTime for Facebook Messenger.
FaceTime, Skype, Google Duo, I think even.
Duo is, yeah, that's right. That's the new one from Google. Yeah. So think of it that way. And so it's not me just recording a video and sending it through to you. It would be you and I talking essentially the way we are right now. If we use,
right.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So it's basically instant video. So it's basically me being able to go add live video to any conversation that we're having on Facebook Messenger. Now, I could see this being extremely useful. I mean, for instance, if I'm, and I've actually started writing an article on this already, because I see so much value in how a business could use this.
Oh, interesting.
Right now, it's more for personal communication.
Right.
Nick and I having a visual conversation versus let me sit there and type, let me text to you, or let me send you an audio message. You and I are actually looking at one another and that sort of stuff. So I could see this being. I wonder. So how you have like Facebook groups, and I haven't tried this yet. You have Facebook groups, right? Yes. You could do group chat.
Interesting.
So I'm wondering if there will be a way to tie this into it, because if I'm a group admin and I'm having conversations with my members, I'd love to have a group chat feature, for instance.
Yeah. And what about, will that then turn into, will this, playing the crystal ball card, will this turn into their version of Hangouts where you can now have live community discussion in your group?
I could see that happening. Yes. I could even see this, for instance, because Facebook's really been putting the pieces together to do Facebook pages to be able to do Messenger as well.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that same functionality coming to this.
Interesting.
I could even, I almost could see them adding like a record feature to this or something, maybe, because if you and I are just chatting like normal, honestly, I don't know how much I use this normally just to chat with somebody.
I've been using what I found I'm using a lot of right now, and I don't know that real time will be that beneficial to me,
right?
The face-to-face. But what I've been using, and you experienced it the other day, and I don't use this just through Facebook Messenger, but I've been using the audios. Audio messages a lot more through iMessage, through Snapchat, through Facebook Messenger, because you don't have to reply to it right away.
Right.
But it eliminates anything that could be misconstrued in text. That it allows you to hear the tone and the inflection and those. So I've been using that, and it's essentially like leaving you a voicemail. It's just shorter, and we've already been communicating, and it's a lot faster than having to text it out.
Sure, absolutely, and that's where I see a lot of usefulness with this. Part of me actually kind of wants to say this is going to be. So we talked about iMessage, right? So iMessage, and what happened with iMessage? You have iMessage, you have FaceTime, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have FaceTime audio. So you have all that. So now let's move to the next thing. What was the next thing that came out a couple weeks ago? Google Duo. What was the deal with Google Duo? Google Duo was just video.
Right.
What was one of the biggest gripes with Google Duo? Oh, it doesn't do audio only. So what are they doing? They're coming out with Google. Was it Allo, I think it is? Or
you're kidding me? The Duo did video only, no audio with it?
It was not just, right. It was not like, for instance, you have FaceTime, you have FaceTime video and FaceTime audio. So it was basically like doing FaceTime video. Now, there's a separate app called Google Allo.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. So that is coming out shortly, and that is going to be the audio piece. So now that you have, for instance, you got Apple's side, you've now got Google's side, which essentially would be, which is great because it's Google putting their platform onto iOS devices, communicate with Android and so forth,
right,
and Android iPhone. Now you have Facebook. Facebook did what? They did Facebook Messenger. They now, that's like messages right there. Right. They then came out with the audio portion, which you're using, and I use the audio portion a lot. I use it a lot for messages for iOS. Now they have the video piece. So it's just interesting. It's like it's almost like we can predict what's going to happen next with this. I mean,
right.
It's going to become a standalone. It's already a standalone app.
Yep.
It's the same process as everyone else.
Yeah, and the consolidation is all I keep seeing. Everybody fighting for the same attention and consolidating in those same areas.
Mm-hmm. And I think, here's the thing. I think that from a personal standpoint, I'm not going to use this feature as much. But if they open it, like I'll probably use it to experiment. But then if they come out with it for groups and they come out with it for pages, that's where I see the value in this. Yeah. Because I can, not to give too much away, but because it kind of started this article, I could see that if I'm a group member and and you're, for instance, an admin in the group, I can have a face-to-face conversation with you,
right,
like to get help with something,
right,
versus let me just send you, let me send you a blank, like, a blank message, just a standard message, you don't really know me. Or, if I'm a page, I could see this being very useful because I'm over there able to really get to know who my customers are.
Right.
So, more on that article will be coming out shortly. But that's where I see the value in this. I mean, I think it's a really good feature.
Yeah, it is. It is. It'll be interesting to see what becomes of all these spaces.
And the next other piece that's going to get tied into this is going to be Masquerade, probably.
Of course. So that because how else do they compete with Snapchat, which they're clearly trying to?
So let's take this one more step real quick. So do you think that Messenger is going to become Snapchat?
It's very possible.
Because let's just put this in this, let's just say we're just looking at Messenger. You and I are both on Messenger. We're having text conversations. We now have audio conversations. We now have video conversations using instant video. They haven't tied in the Masquerade piece yet to that, right? I can send, emoticons, emoji, all that sort of stuff. But they could conceivably tie that in, and Messenger then, all they need to do is do some sort of disappearing act with their content, and you have essentially
Snapchat. Right.
And it's a standalone app that's very similar to Snapchat.
Right.
It ties into the Facebook ecosystem,
right,
of however many billion users.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. I mean, Instagram took stories, so and they at least claimed that, hey, Snapchat came up with this and we took it right from them.
Yeah, so it's really fascinating. I like the direction this one's going. I mean, here's the thing: if I'm a business, simple, download the app. It's not, I haven't, like I said, I haven't experimented with it yet to see if it works with pages or if it works with groups. It's all on the same platform, same code. So assuming it probably will. It just needs some functions tied into it.
Right.
But I would say this: if I'm a business, the one thing I would do right now is I would experiment with it and start working, for instance, with your friends.
Right.
Connect with your friends, see how it works, get used to it. It's not going to change if I'm a group or a page. It's going to be just the same.
And while we're talking about Facebook, I'm Snapchatting that we're on this show right now.
Awesome. So that's all the topics I have for today. I want to quickly talk about these tools. You got a couple of minutes?
Yeah, I do. Let's crank them out.
Okay, so let's tool number one is Unlively, and I'm going to let you handle some of these because you talked about these briefly last week.
And hopefully I remember what they are. I know that you posted them, and I got to take a look at them. Are you going to post them in the link here? Let me go back to my message from you too.
Here's Unlively.
Yes, Unlively. So this was interesting. So Unlively was created by former product manager for Facebook Live.
Mm-hmm.
And it came up as, it's so strange because Facebook Live has been around for how long now? Not even 6 months.
Right.
And this product manager went and said, all right, well, we're going to create one that's not default public, but instead it's default private live video. Mm-hmm. So you can share everyday moments with friends and family. So if Christian and I are talking about family things that are going on, hey, I want to bring Christian, but I don't want it live to the world.
Mm-hmm.
I want it live on Unlively. So it's Facebook Live, it's Periscope, it's Fire Talk, it's many of these, only not live to everybody. So it becomes more like Skype.
Mm-hmm. Which Skype is really passe, I guess, sort of now, because the new thing is Facebook Instant Video.
Facebook Instant Video, Periscope Instant Video. Oh, right, you're right. It would be. Now, I think we'll see Skype once again being more utilized with LinkedIn, and Microsoft is live video on LinkedIn. I think we may see it that way in the near future. But This is share videos live, or you share them later, but you can have live video conversation. This is much the same messaging stuff. This is what baffles me on this one. Interesting that their default is to private, but I do believe there are some options for us to, if I only want you and Vincent and I to see a video that we make, or I want to send a video just to you and Vincent through Facebook Live, I think I can do that. I think I can just tag you and Vincent and make it not visible to anybody else. So I was really thrown off by this one. That why would I'm assuming there are other intricacies that maybe make this somewhat different than Facebook Live, but this is just the big one was that the default setting is private.
Well, so the other thing that also makes this a very unique app, and by the way, this is a free app. The other thing that makes it really unique is that, for instance, let's say Nick sent me a video and I wasn't there to watch it when it was live, Right. I basically would get, it's almost like I can watch them on my own time. So basically I will get the option to see it later on.
Right. So it's more of a video messaging in that sense.
Yeah.
You know what this reminded me of?
What?
This reminded me of, do you remember a company, and this was before I was really active in social media, but do you remember a company by the name of Path?
Yeah, Path, yeah.
It was like the Facebook, but only up to 50 friends that you would ever include. Yeah. So this reminds me a little bit more of the video version of Path. It's much smaller social circle and limited social circle and engagement, private engagement with that limited social circle.
Yeah. So the one thing I also, I guess, find really fascinating about just all these apps, because I've been looking, I see new ones every single week, like
all the time.
And I'm wondering why some of these are being built. Like this is a real, this seems like a really useful one, right? But it seems like there's so much effort going into this that like it's not hard, for instance, for Facebook to so for example, you know how there's, save on Facebook, and you know how there are also the new Facebook offers that came out, right? That also got announced this week.
I didn't even hear that one.
Yeah,
but I'll take your word for it.
That was in the big list.
Okay.
So what Facebook did basically is they revamped offers so that when you save an offer, it'll go on a mobile device, for instance. And then when you go on the desktop, what they're going to do is they're going to notify you that you have a saved offer, for instance. And so now, like looking at this video, like let's just say on Facebook, this could be the next iteration of Messenger.
Yeah.
Somebody sends me a message like this, I could either get it immediately, or if I'm not there, I get a video message and it takes out that app. So I just wonder, like, why are some of these apps popping up?
Why even try? You're solving a problem that's not yet a problem, and that somebody else can easily do because they've already done it.
And here's the thing, I would definitely say it's good to challenge the status quo.
Absolutely.
But I also think some of these, kind of going back to the thing we talked about earlier about people thinking too narrow on some of the things that they're doing, like apps literally for one function.
Yeah.
This is, to me, this is like, this is something that just could be folded into any other live streaming app.
Right. That's my feeling. My feeling is, I mean, if you're going into business, you go into business to make money. That's the goal of it. So why are you doing something that somebody else can do with ease, or already sort of does? Interesting.
Yeah. So that's app number one, or tool number one for the day. If I'm a business, again, this is not like moved into any other like social platform. So I would want to say you should spend some time, test, it's a free app. Download it, test it out with your family.
Yeah. Play with it if you want to. It's not a priority is how I would think of it.
So tool number 2, Smiletime.
So this one, I think, was just one more iteration of live video chatting these days. I have not been able to play with it yet. I will connect with most things through my Twitter. I rarely do it through my Facebook because I have more personal information on my Facebook. So I don't generally just give access to any application through Facebook. But I feel like Smiletime is looking much more similar to Blab than say Fire Talk or even Huzza. That's what I get from so far. I have not played with it because the only option right now is to sign in using Facebook.
Yeah. Now, this is actually, so this kind of reminds me of was it Crowdcast, I think?
Yeah, I haven't played with Crowdcast either, but I see a lot of folks over there doing it.
It was the one actually. Okay, so it was the app where you could basically monetize your audience.
Busker?
Oh yeah. Okay, yes, that was the one. Yes. So okay, so like let's just take some of these little pieces. So what I really like about Smiletime is that you can influence what happens, for instance, on stage.
Oh,
like,
okay.
That's actually so it's basically taking like the comments and then having like a Reddit type feature where you can upvote or downvote something. So and then that would actually influence what's going on.
So is it an improv kind of? Is it supposed to be playing with improv?
It could essentially be like that, yes.
Oh,
so
okay. Example, that's different than what I understood it to be.
You can do real-time polls, for instance, directly on here. You can then you can use the upvote downvote feature to influence what's happening, or you can just do your own show.
Okay.
But so it's really fascinating because like I could see, okay, we'll take that and like tie the monetization piece in there. Boom, I would use that tool, for instance.
Yeah, so, interesting. But again, a tool to play with if you have time. But I still don't think this is a priority unless like Busker, if you are a musician or an artist or something like that, where they can give you tips or financially monetary tips. Yeah, monetary tips. Then maybe you should be more into trying this out.
And that kind of actually reminds me of a couple of other like video monetization tools. So, for example, people who want to monetize their YouTube channel might use Patreon, for instance,
right,
to set up like some rewards for people to fund them to create videos. So, I think overall, I mean, it's nice to see this is actually coming to mobile.
Yes. So, Huzza, I might add, is supports Patreon. So Huzza, the other platform we didn't try out for this show, but I use for my other shows, is a Patreon platform as well.
So with that, I'm gonna, and these are really great tools. So just sharing the last tool here with everybody.
Let's do it.
ThingThing. It's a keyboard. Now this is a pretty neat little app. Okay, so I think you were on the show. You were on when we talked about Gboard, so Google's keyboard?
I don't remember if I was.
Okay, so there are lots of keyboards that you can add to your mobile device. There's ones, for instance, for adding just Bitmoji, for instance. I have one for Text Expander. There's Gboard, which is Google's version, which lets you search Google, look up animated GIFs, all that sort of stuff directly from the keyboard. Now, what ThingThing does is, and it's a free app, it ties into a number of other apps that are already on your device. So, for example, it can tie into Facebook. Sorry, you can do text. So you can do your standard, regular typing. You can do animated GIFs. You can do emojis. You can tie into Facebook. You can tie into Instagram. You can tie into Calendar, Dropbox, a number of to-do list apps.
Looks like Buffer as well.
I think it does Buffer. I
like the Buffer symbol on there.
Yeah, there's a bunch that actually. That's funny enough. There's a lot. That's actually a to-do, or that's actually a to-do list. That's Todoist.
Oh, is that what that is? Okay.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. So the way that this app works is, instead of me having to bounce between apps, for instance, let's say you said it ties into Google Drive, for instance. Okay. Let's say you're like, hey, Christian, you're texting me. Can you send me that file? So what I can do is I can hook in Google Drive, or I can hook in Dropbox, and I can access all my files from the keyboard.
Interesting.
I don't have to go like over to Dropbox and tap on the item, and then tap on the share option, and then circle back to messages eventually. Wow. Or even not even circle back to messages at all. Instead, I send it from, Dropbox. Instead of, now I could be talking to you. Hey, Nick, here's that file you want. I get it, and I send it to you. So it's nice because it makes you don't have to round trip as much,
Yeah. Have you played with this yet?
I have, actually. So so I'll say this: it ties into, like, for instance, on the iOS device, it ties into calendar and photos and location and contacts, so you can quickly send stuff. Okay. For instance, I could send you some of my contacts if I wanted to. It ties into Instagram. It ties into Facebook. I've only connected Facebook right now. I've been a little hesitant with Instagram because I'm just always hesitant connecting anything to Instagram, because I know how hard it is if you lose your account to be able to get it back.
Okay.
But also then ties into cloud services like Dropbox and Box and Google Drive and Pocket, even Todoist, You can also go in and request like Evernote, for instance, and
Wow.
Instapaper. There's an Apple Music request, Spotify, YouTube. Basically, look at it like this: if you want to like get something from the keyboard, you don't have to go get it. You literally could just do it right from the keyboard and probably just do inline search.
That's cool.
So that app right there, I would say if I'm a business, I would want to test that one out and see how that works, because that can save you a considerable amount of time over time.
Yeah.
So
that's impressive. I'm going to have to play with this one.
And I've been a little hesitant always to like install keyboards, because I noticed the more keyboards you install, the slower
it goes.
Yes. Yeah. But I think that in this case, I think there's a lot of really good functionality for you.
Interesting. Okay.
Awesome.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
That's a wrap, huh?
Absolutely. That's a wrap on the 51st episode of Social Chatter. Just a quick reminder, by the way, for everyone who's watching, if you want to join next week's show, you do have to get a ticket. But fortunately, they're all free. So get a ticket to next week's show. And you can just do that by going here. And also subscribe and let us know you're going to attend. And then if you want to get on the list and get notified when we sell what the updates are for the week, and then also what, a link to last week's show with everything in a written format with a video, just text Social Chatter to 33444, and that'll get you on the list. Nick, absolute pleasure. Again, having you on the show. I actually like talking tech with you, because I think that we're like kindred spirits from a tech standpoint. We both like tech.
Yeah. Strangely enough, it wasn't always this way for me. Took well into my 30s before I really started loving it. And but I do enjoy this.
Awesome. Well, I don't want to keep you. I know you got a lot going. You have anything you want to talk about? Like, do you have a show this week or anything?
Actually, my show, Legal Tech Live, has been canceled, and I'm looking for somebody to replace on my Saturday show. So you'll just Saturday, usually 10 a.m. on huzza.io/Nick J. Rishwing. But no shows for the company today, and maybe not that show either. So no, I think that pretty much wraps it up for me.
And are there any requirements for somebody for that show to be a guest on it? Or
on the Legal Tech Live, generally you've got to be in legal tech startup, CEO, something to that effect. For the shows that we do through experts.com, either an attorney or an expert witness.
Very cool. So if I can help you with anything, feel free to shoot me some links, and I will do my best to help get that out there for you.
All right, appreciate it.
I want to say thanks again for, I know you've been feeling sick the last few days. I appreciate you taking the time to pop in for a little bit here.
My pleasure. Every chance I get, I love doing it.
So this is fun, and thanks a lot for keeping me on track.
My pleasure, man. Thank you.
Awesome. I will see you later. Have a great week.
All right. Thanks. You too.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.